Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I greet you with the honor, the blessings, and the knowledge from Creator and all the healing. I'm your intrepid host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, is my shaman name. And so I greet you on this Saturday evening, a blustery, thundery December the 1st, 2018. And it's very odd to have this much thunder this time of year, I might add. Now, as I continue to do about Earth Wobble and things, I have brought you alerts and tried to explain my observations over the last 2 years about the Earth Wobble. And one of the things that I've been noticing in just this last week is that now scientists are coming out and saying, oh, the Earth is in a wobble. Now, for the last 2 weeks, I've been observing that the wobble has become more stable. Now, over the last 2 days, it's been difficult for me to do some stargazing because we've had cloudy skies. But from what I could gather on where the moon rose, it's still coming up pretty much due east of my location, exactly where it's supposed to be coming up. And if you've kept up with my videos over the years, every week or two, or depending on my ability to be able to observe certain things, um, the moon was never in the same place 3 or 4 days in a row, especially for 2 weeks. And this has been very consistent when I was able to watch the stars, especially Orion. Um, there's one in between Orion and Perseids, and I cannot remember its name. It looks like a big V or an A or something in the sky anyway. And also the position of where Mars, Neptune, and Uranus is. And those have been consistent over the last 2 weeks, barring cloud cover, I might add. But my observations were good until uh, yesterday morning early when I took a last sighting. So everything looks really, really good and stable. So how come the scientists are starting this hype that the Earth is going into a wobble, that it's going into a wobble? And I'm saying, oh my God, I can't believe how stable the Earth wobble actually is right now. Now, we've got a very cloudy sky, lots of thunder and lightning today, especially this evening. The lights have flickered a couple of times. And it's like, oh my goodness, it's to me to have this type of a thunderstorm on the 1st of December is a little rare. Um, Usually we just get the rain, but a lot of lightning and thunder at this time of year, which I'm just saying is just strange. However, if the Earth, and as of about 30 hours ago, the Schumann resonance was literally off the charts for about 24 hours minimum. I mean, off the charts. Right now, the Schumann resonance is very calm, and it's almost like there's nothing there. Now, the science also came out this week that they heard a loud earthquake and that it sent a sound wave above the Earth all the way around, and that the Earth rang like a bell. Hmm. Rang like a bell? I've been talking about how the Earth is actually hollow. If the Earth has a molten core, then how can the Earth ring like a bell? It must be hollow at some point. So the science keeps coming out with little tidbits as to some of this information that should be known to everybody. If the Earth rang like a bell, and the scientists even remarked that it was musical in nature, well, that's because the human resonance has literally been off the charts. I mean, into the 50 range easily when it should be 7.8. So I'm making these videos to say, I've been trying to explain to folks for a long time that this is going on. And it's like, hey, now science is catching up to what I've been trying to explain. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back about this, but it does go to show that some of the things that I have been talking about for quite a long time is actually coming true. The information and my observations prove true to that. Now, whether it's like self aggrandizement, I just want to say, hey, the facts are here. The facts are obvious to all of us. Now, I'm curious as to why scientists want to spin this backwards, because I'm reporting that, oh my God, the moon's back where it belongs and is stable. And the scientists are trying to tell us, wait a minute, the earth is in a big wobble. What the hell? Are they going to try to explain something here? Or is the science just now catching up, even though the moon is put right and we're stabilizing? They have to admitted that the earth was wobbling at some point, I guess to make it right. But it's very odd in from my standpoint, in like a lot of us have been talking about this for a while and they're just now admitting it. I'm good with that. The fact that they're late by at least 2 weeks from my observations, and apparently I can't tell through the clouds, but they should move by, and as soon as I get another fix on the moon and the stars, I'll do another update. But because I think this is important. I've been bitching about the Earth wobble, and so now I'm going to start reporting that the Earth wobble has been stabilized. I'm just curious as to why the scientists are saying otherwise. You know what I'm saying? Just Ice Station Z, hello, good evening. How are you? How are you? Let me read what you got. Looks like we've got more hours of that bad weather coming your way. Yeah, it looks like it. I keep forgetting where you're at, Zed. You're up on the East Coast somewhere, I think, or are you in over on the West Coast? I forget. Anyway, but so the scientists are also saying some other weird things about the Earth ringing like a bell. Chesapeake, yes, yes, yes. God, if I ever get better, I got two kayaks and a canoe. Can we do Chesapeake? I swear I'm going to get stable enough to where I can go travel. There's several places I would love to go kayak and canoe, but anyway, um, to the subject at hand, though, these big earthquakes that just happened, that one up in Anchorage, and I want to remind some folks, you stay off, you stay off the water. I want to do it because I've always wanted to, at least do the marshes. I'm more interested in the banks than I am the open water. If um, down here in Florida and Georgia, with all the vast swamps that we got, the brackish waters are really interesting for things that you can see and wildlife. And I've always wanted to do that. Chesapeake Bay being one of the sort of like the Okefenokee in a way, but the Okefenokee isn't directly attached to the ocean. But anyway, I digress. Um, but the interesting things are these earthquakes that are happening too. And one of the things I keep reminding folks, that there's going to be some more earthquake in some weird places. All of that energy that's been down along the west coast has been traveling. I'm sorry, it would be the east coast, like Japan and China and along there. Dutch Sense talks about it all the time, but I've been saying it just in general, that there's a movement of magma underneath the Pacific, and it's like a tidal wave of magma under the earth, and it's headed east actually. It's headed east under the ground, but towards the west coast of California. And as that energy keeps going across underneath, it's doing things. It's hitting Alaska and all the way along, because the South Pacific and everybody, they've gotten hammered 10 times worse than we have on our side of the Pacific plate, and not enough energy is transferred yet. We've had some big earthquakes and stuff, volcanoes going off. There's going to be some more of that, and people need to be aware. And, I don't have a date for this, but when I get my little, downloads from the creator, it's basically warn people in these prone areas this stuff ain't over yet. And because the earth is taking It's sort of like a slingshot, or the crack the whip, if you will. If those of you who remember roller skating in the old days, I guess never lived in the north long enough to ice skate, but you can do crack the whip with ice on ice too as well. So the person on the outside gets slung around. Well, right now we're slinging around the backside of the sun, it being coming into December, and then we make this route around the sun, and we're leaving all these other energies behind us in the solar system. And so when these little connections break, the Earth's going to go whoo, like a slingshot sort of thing, crack the whip. And so with that, we're all going to feel it, woo, 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 oh boy. But at the same time, those things that are moving under our feet are going to have some things are going to have to settle. Okay. And things are moving one direction and the Earth's going to be doing another, and we're twirling and swirling, and there's cosmic energies. And so, but when we loosen the grip from these other planets, Mother Earth's going to have a few months of woo boy. I'm being drunk at a party, like waking up, uh, with a bad hangover, wondering who she slept with. That's a bad analogy. Melanie, hi, how are you? But anyway, so there's going to be some interesting things that are going to transpire Earthwise. And I just find it interesting that they bring this wobble up now. It's like, what? Okay. And they also almost within the same week, they brought out the fact that after that one earthquake, I can't remember which one, but the Earth rang like a bell. More proof that the Earth is hollow, like I've been trying to explain to folks. That's what makes more sense. And that, some of these energies coming out of the Earth and the different magnetics and so forth, it's very possible we're going to go from a bipolar, which is a positive and a negative, and the polarity can flip, but not the Earth. It's just a magnetic deal. However, it has been suggested, and this has been, that's a lot of lightning right there. I'm counting. That's about 10 miles away. Wow, that's a lot of lightning. Anyway, I forgot where I was. I started counting as soon as I seen that. I mean, it was all the way across the sky. Looked like daylight there for a minute. Several seconds anyway. But that the Earth in itself has got some settling to do when she comes around the corner. And with all the magma and everything that the scientists are proving, guess what? Ring like a bell. If it's got a solid core, it can't ring like a bell. That's stupid. So we just need to use our own common judgment about that. What was the other thing that has been brought up? Oh, a lot of folks now all of a sudden are talking about the Schumann resonance and, what's it doing to the Earth? Well, as you all know, if you followed my channel, I've been discussing that for at least a year now. And it's like, well, that's not any news to us. But it's nice for all you bigger channels and all these other people to finally go, oh, the Schumann resonance. Like, oh, man. I don't know whether or not all the things that I've discussed on my channel just seem like logical sense to me with the current amount of knowledge and science that's already there. And so to break away from the mainstream science theory and having no box to think out of, I'm able to discern certain things that just make sense. Now the Earth ringing like a bell, how in the hell then can you come back and tell me that it has a molten core of iron? Oh, I was going to speak about the polarities. Thank you. Somebody was wondering. The polarities will go from positive to negative and maybe flip, maybe, or that if the internal rotation of the plasma ball that is inside the Earth, that acts like a gyroscope for the Earth, it's mechanical in that it moves, but it's electrical and magnetical because it's plasma based. And we're going to understand more about this in the future. They keep telling me, and the more science I do and digging and stuff, it's like this has absolutely sounds plausible as far as what's inside our Earth. A plasma gyroscope makes really good sense, especially with a little bit of tinkering, you could balance that plasma. Well, with the moon being out of whack, the Earth wobbling, and other stuff going on with the Earth moving itself, our own gyroscope is out of balance right now, but it seems like it's righting itself. Now, oh, something else I want to cover. Oh, back to the polarity. It's very possible that we will change to a monopole, meaning that the polarity will just go around it. It'll the Earth will become more plasma-like in how a toroid, if you will. So there's no south, north or south. It will be a monopole, and that will be the inside of the Earth, which is this plasma um, generator gyroscope that is theoretically in there. And I get these weird dreams about some of this stuff. And somebody told me the other day in a personal live chat, and she said, I keep seeing you on the moon base. And I was like, what? She goes, yeah, I'm a data entry person, and I've seen you on the moon base. And I'm like, I know I've been somewhere, and I've been seeing some really interesting things. And me having a wild imagination and as an engineer and designer for years, I'm like, yeah, but whatever I've been seeing ain't got nothing to do with anything that I've ever seen. Theoretically, yes, maybe in a movie with some kind of special effects, but the actual thing that I've got pictured in my mind, I've not seen anywhere, and I don't know where I got the information, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like there's too much I've got too much information with something I really, to me, has just been a theoretical idea for years for myself. So with that said, as some of these other things are coming out in the science of things, I got to wonder, wow, man, it's not that I'm a know-it-all, it's that I'm glad I'm tapped in to the right source, because that means the information that I am tapping into is good information. That's what I'm about. Let's get the correct information out there so people will stop with this being scared crap. Oh, and another energy wave coming in. Now other scientists are discussing this new energy wave, and they're discussing it in the public. And well, it's been about 36 hours ago now, we went through a 24-hour period of Schumann resonance off the chart. Just so happens that there was several large earthquakes, down in Argentina, one and the aftershocks of the one in Alaska. And I think there is another one down in the South Pacific somewhere as well. So Mother Earth is definitely shifting and jagging herself, which is exactly what was told to me in 2013, that during this period of time, there would be a lot of Earth shifting. But there's a lot of planetary reasons, cosmic energy. I mean, what I saw in 2013 in the dreams they gave me had nothing to do with cosmic energy hitting the Earth. It was going to be space stuff, but not necessarily planets running into us or whatever. But it was going to be where the Earth was in the universe, not necessarily with the sun and all the planets. And then the sun started changing colors from yellow to blue, and all these other planetary things that's happened. And my observations began when I noticed how bad the Earth was wobbling and where the moon was going nutso. Okie dokie, here we go. So I'm just glad that the information that I've had for many years and have had to try to explain is good information. I'm glad everybody's catching up with that. With that said, it seems like then maybe the rest of this information is probable then. And so we just need to hang on good for these next several months because of these Earth changes. and there ain't nothing we can do except stay away from certain places. If you can get away from a coastline, you should do so. There's talk about the Gulf of Mexico again, that they've got something planned for the Gulf of Mexico. And I don't know whether or not it's planned, but the energy transfer across the Pacific from the South Sea Islands and through Hawaii is now hitting our west coast, all the way down to South Antarctica, with South America. But Guatemala just got hit again. There's going to be some more changes down there, and my issue with that is that energy hit the wall of the west coast of the Americas. That energy still has not transferred far enough east. In other words, there's going to be disturbances more in Haiti, Cuba, the Caribbean, off the coast of Mexico, possibly in the middle of the Gulf where the BP oil catastrophe happened. Because most people don't realize when they drilled out there with the Deep Horizon, they drilled into a crack in the mantle and all that pressure spewed out. And so that is a very weak point right now. And that as the energy transfers across, that could seriously damage what BP oil did way back when down in the Gulf. So when people hear, oh man, there's nothing in the Gulf. Oh, yeah, there is. They drilled a nasty hole in a crack and let loose a bunch of mess. And it's never really been truly correctly fixed. They've just been hiding it. And so, and I reported on that. Now the scientists are saying, oh my God. Oh, that the report the last 2 days was, and I've been reporting on the fact that the Gulf Stream up the coast of the United States has been off for a long time, and that it's moved offshore and it's been moving. Now they're claiming, oh, the Gulf Stream is the slowest and the most erratic that it's been in, they can't remember how long. And that the Gulf of Mexico itself has also a rotation to it that it has slowed. I warned everybody that's the Corexit in the water that made its own thermocline, if you will, and it's under the ocean and above the floor. It's under the surface, I should say. And so, but it has slowed the rotation because it's heavier with the oil that it's containing, and it has slowed the rotation of the Gulf of Mexico. Now the scientists are saying, "Oh my God, all of these, all of these ocean streams are they're now admitting has been affected." Well, I'm fixing to say this: if the moon does stay stable, which I feel pretty good right now, it's been stable for 2 weeks. That in doing so, then the air patterns, which are really crazy right now. I mean, it's a great big, huge comma in the middle of the United States. You know, I mean, oh my God, the amount of energy in this thing and the amount of water that's coming up from the Gulf. I mean, it's rained, it's been raining cats and dogs on and off all day here in South Georgia. And the lightning, there, there it goes again. It's just absolutely weird for this time of the year. Now, I bring up the lightning for another reason. If the Earth built up a static charge like this human residence that hit us yesterday, basically it was Thursday and Friday, and then it tapered off into today, but it was literally off the charts. So if there was that much vibration in the Earth that it rang like a bell along with the earthquakes, then could it have built up a static charge to where we're getting all this lightning right now? Because I mean, it's like, it looks like the middle of summertime, and we're not supposed to have that down here in South Georgia. A little bit of thunder, more it's just supposed to be drizzly, rain, and cloudy and yucky, you know, chilly in the 55 to 50 range, and just kind of nasty all around and just yuck. Um, but at the same point, it's like the amount of thunder and lightning is just like, it's just really strange. Okay, moving on. So, but my point, back to the point of the static charge, though, if with all this energy that's in the Schumann resonance, I take a picture every day I'm going to try to figure out how to upload the pictures and go through the pictures over this, what these heavy periods that we've had, especially recently, how off the charts this is, and where it might correlate to the earthquakes and also the nasty weather we're having right now. Because, when I looked at the map earlier, I was like, oh my God, it's a huge, semicolon, comma, backwards comma. Anyway, y'all understand what I'm talking about. But the fact that it's so huge is like, oh my goodness gracious. Now, if the Earth has stabilized as I've observed so far, then it was suggested then that the jet streams would take a little while to catch up, because with the Earth not turning in a wobbly fashion, the jet streams have been trying to catch up with this. Now, could this really big storm right now over us be the result of the fact that we've stabilized and the jet streams are trying to like get back together? Just putting it out there. Don't know. When I saw it, I was like, ooh, is this the result of the Earth coming back and the moon coming back into normal? We'll see. Just an observation. All right. There have been a lot of other UFO sightings as well. And on my little camera in yonder, I have a little video clip of this object that I've been observing in the south. I got on live one morning a couple of weeks ago, maybe a month now, and I said, I just saw it. Let me describe it. Was on for about an hour, chatted with some of you folks. And I was like, one of these days I'm going to get a picture. Well, I got some distant video of it. But all it is an orb, but it's the fact that it's an orb, and it's the fact of how it's changing its colors. And it's zoomed in, and it's I know how to set a camera up, so I use I go to the landscape manual. So when I go to focus something and I tune it in, I'm not getting some kind of wobble. So I know that when I zoomed in on that thing in the manual mode, that the colors and everything and how it stayed an orb. And stars don't look like that. Stars look kind of scattery, but they don't look like orbs. And this thing was just multicolored, and I didn't get much of a chance to watch it long because from my point of view in the view screen, it disappeared south and to the west, which stars shouldn't do that. And over the last several nights since I shot that video, I have not seen the object in the sky. And I've been taking a peek throughout the early morning. I usually see it between 3 and 5 a.m., 4:30 more likely. And I caught it at about 3:15 one morning and had my camera and set it up. So I'm going to try to upload that video or do the live stream. Haven't figured that out, but just want to let you know, I caught some of that little bugger, and it ain't a star, because stars don't go and disappear out of the camera range within seconds. It's almost like in the past, I've had instances where I've asked the ET or whoever, say, all right, if you guys are really who you are, you'll show me something. And I've told some of the stories about this, and some of them are quite amazing from my standpoint, but very rarely do I ever get a chance to really videotape anything or take a picture of something. All I do is jump online and go, I saw this thing, they just blah, 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 it was over there, and then it poof. And so I can give an oral representation of what I've seen. But so I keep asking, one of these days, will y'all just let me? I just want a little snippet of you guys, And so it was almost like the other morning that it was really low on the horizon and difficult to get through some of the atmosphere, but it was really cold and it was really clear. And it was before the ground fog came up high enough to obscure my view of this thing. But man, was it changing colors and shapes, and oy vey, it was really cool through my binoculars. And my little camera has a little bit more how the eyeball discerns changes of color. I saw it in like they were like rods of light. It would be like an A shaped or a V shape or something, not necessarily a letter, but they were almost like glow sticks. and it would be red, and then there would be green, and there would be a blue, and it was sort of like there was some kind of little game where you put sticks together and you could do 3D images of science projects and squish them in and out. But you get what I'm. Well, anyway, it was almost something like that, but it was like every other one. There were like two rods. They were always connected. It seemed. With my observations, and it would be blue, green, and there was always two of them. So it was always like a 3D kind of, but it was changing really rapidly, and it wasn't really flashing as it was changing colors between these rods. Two rods of red, two rods of yellow, green, blue, yellow, red, back, and the red wasn't necessarily in the same spot. Now, I only observed this for about 4 to 5 minutes through my binoculars because I was trying to get a bead on this thing and get my camera ready to go outside and get a better shot. Where by the time I got out there and focused in, I had limited view with the camera. So, but anyway, I wanted to observe it to be able to describe it. And the way these light things kept changing, it stayed more like a ball, a spherical kind of shape, if you will, even though it wasn't round, more like a Dyson sphere, if you will. But the color change, it wasn't a variable star, way, way, way too big. I know what variable stars look like, just off the charts. I mean, this thing was like huge in the sky. It looked like an airplane. And so with that, I was like, this ain't no airplane because of the color change. Okay, you got me. All right. So with that said, there are a lot of other folks that are discussing these things, and a lot more people are having some sure enough videos. Being my friendship to your friendship and the knowledge and the wisdom that seems to be running pretty good from what they're telling me, I want to reiterate to you folks, please don't go into some of this hype. Keep an eye on it, observe it, but don't get emotionally involved in some of these things, because people are trying to explain things using the current science. And as these changes are taking place, so are the laws of their physics. And many of us have been talking about this, that there's missing science. And some of them know about this, and some of them don't. And some of these things show up in old 1950s black and white sci-fi movies, believe it or not. They knew about this stuff a long time ago, okay? And it's just now reaching you and me through the science community, where it's just been obvious to a lot of people for a long time. So they're still trying to use what they've taught in universities to explain the phenomenon that they can't explain. And with the electric universe and with plasma energies and with the idea that space isn't really empty, it's got all kinds of stuff in it. I call it the cosmic goo, have been calling that for a long time. That's how one of the shamans expressed it to me one time. He goes, imagine sort of like a, a really soft jello that hasn't quite set yet, but it's still firm. But it looks more like goo than jello. And his remark was, we all live in this cosmic goo, this jello. And and it's just, some places it's clear, and some places there's light shining through the gelatin. And we might be in a cherry section of the universe. And and I was like, oh my God, in so many ways, being in the cherry section of the universe could literally be in another dimension, or maybe another timeline. But you're still in the same relative space as the gelatin or the jello, or how, the cosmic goo. So I've had an idea of how things could be, and that there was stuff out there. And now they're just starting to, oh my God, it's true. Well, a true shaman has known this for a long time, because how can you draw upon the universe if there's nothing there? Think about that one for a minute. And if you will, think about that one for a minute. Let me take a sip of coffee. But I bring these things to your attention because there are many people who are just becoming awake to this. And it's like, I feel sometimes like it's a deja vu. Have we not, hasn't this group of folk been through this before? Have we not been, didn't we already discuss some of this stuff? And it's like it's, and I mean just all kinds of things. It's not just Planet X or whatever. It's all kinds of things. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Did people not get this the first time through? Or is it that they're like so caught up in the learning? Oh, yeah. Oh, that's really cool. Well, yeah, but you talked about that over a year ago. Well, yeah, I know, but it's still cool. Yeah, but you're still talking about what you talked about a year ago. And I know I have a tendency to like want to repeat, but sometimes there's things that need to be reevaluated or updated or possibly reiterated. But some of these folks, it's almost like they forgot what they talked about, or that they went through this, a year or so ago for themselves. Now, this is, I'm not trying to be critical to anybody, but it's like it's almost like they're repeating something. And there have been several things and folks and I've watched that are kind of like people just going, what? Did we just that kind of, well, I'm not sure. Did we just just saying. So, but everybody, everybody's still, looking good on the top, as far as staying on the road with their compassion and understanding. I'm high kudos to everybody in the light worker community, however you want to look at this. High kudos. People are still hanging in there, and it seems like what infighting there was, where there was some ruffled feathers or whatever, seemed to have like not mysteriously gone away, but the ruffles have been fettered off. And I think it's simply because when you get a lot of empathic people trying to tune into the same radio station, heads are going to bump, maybe quite literally, in that we're all trying to hit the same information. And I'm lucky enough, knock on wood, that I've had a pretty decent channel here this last year. I've been able to, well, I've had a good channel with my spirit guide for a long time, but I've never asked anything really cosmic. It was all about the earth. It was all about spirituality. And so now it's almost like they say, okay, you're fixing to get an update, Hawkeye. We're not just going to talk about the earth and the planet and things. Now we're going to talk about woo-woo stuff. Okay, we'll see about that one. And so, but the thing is that, oh my God, some of this stuff has been pretty damned accurate. It scares the shit out of me, if you want to know the truth, because it's like I'd rather just tell the story. But then as science catches up and more things are being proven true, it's like, holy Jesus, did that mean I really did go to that school and I saw these things? Did they show me a machine that is that why I've had this in my head? Where have I traveled? I've gone somewhere to learn some of this stuff, because I'm not getting it on YouTube. Now I do a lot of science reading and I do a lot of information in that respect, but I still not come across anything that is currently in my brain. I'm just saying it's nope. So it feels like I have literally been into another location. And as I said, a friend of mine said, I saw you on the moon base, and the reason me was so involved with wondering what was up with the moon is because they called me in as an engineer to help fix and fix. I've been working on the stabilizers, if you will, because the gyroscope got knocked out of kilter. Now, I mean, I can talk about this like I've been there, because it's like, where did this story come from? But at the same point, as being an engineer and have known things that other engineers just couldn't quite seem to grasp, it has been a gift of mine. And I've always tried to humble myself before the forces that showed me some of these interesting mechanical engineer type things that I've seen in my lifetime and have had a chance to work with. So, but to have these kind of visions, dreams, if you will, of working on this apparatus is just like kind of creepy to me, because it's like the science is coming out, but at the same time, I've still got this visual of where I was inside this thing. And, people would, it was, a control room, that was working on trying to get the balance fixed. And it's like, where did I come up with this story? If there wasn't something real in that, I've never wanted or dreamt of having dreams of fixing the gyroscope inside the moon, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like, now I'm telling you this story because that's the best I can do. But there's too many too real things. And now somebody said, I think I saw you there. Okay. That's an even stranger one for someone to admit to me, I guess, that, I seen you. And it was like, damn. But I've known for quite a while that they were teaching me things, and thus my long periods of sleep, which I have just like, oh, please let me wake the F up. Oh man, I'm so tired of this getting called off planet to do whatever it is they want me to do. But it seems like I see control. I wake up with control panels still in my vision. And it's like, there's a thing over here and there's a that and this button, and then the memory gets wiped. And why should I be having those thoughts? So I don't know. I'm telling you this because it's something that I have been experiencing very full on here recently. And then someone has made the statement that they've seen me. So it's like, I'll leave it with that. Now let's go back to the science for a little bit. Actually, let's move to something else, kind of spiritually, what's going on. Now, there's a very curious thing when Bush Sr. died last night. The time that they reported, there's a video out there that is exactly 3 minutes and 22 seconds, which is like, that's odd. The time of day that he passed, they made sure it was late on the last day of November. There is significant meaning in some of the gematria numbering things in there. I'm not the expert. I just wanted to explain that there was some serious number issues that went on with the passing of G.W. Bush, which in itself is interesting in that so many other things are going on right now in the political, which E.T. and other higher white hats and so forth have been saying is going to happen. If you follow Q, he's been mentioning some of this stuff too. But I've been listening more of this on the underground space side, if you will, okay, in certain channels. And their information has been just as effective as the Q or anybody else's, okay, just saying. And so I try to relate some of these things to you, at least bring them up to your attention and go, maybe this is possible, keep your eye on this. Well, for example, senator takes flu shot, then dies. What? Now, all right, okay, there's one. There was another holistic doctor or somebody, and then found him dead. And then G.W. Bush, and also the earthquake that took place in Alaska was very close to the time they announced his death. Just saying. As the thunder rolls down here in South Georgia. So, do I know anything, consequently? Well, we've been told over the, keep an eye out for this and that and da 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 da. Well, they're just saying, is there a coincidence with some of this stuff? Okie dokie. Just saying. Now, with GW gone, that's going to open up the spirit world in a lot of ways, because him and Barbara were king and queen, as it were, of some of that nasty shenanigans going on. Now, I usually don't go into this kind of thing, but they have been in charge of some very nasty shenanigans. And you can do your own research and believe what you will, but they've been in charge of some nasty shenanigans. Going back to the CIA in Arkansas, when they started bringing in the all the cocaine and all the other drugs and things. When I was in Arkansas one summer, they found those two boys that had been murdered and hacked and cut up, and they suspected a a drug related thing. Guess what? We were camped just outside of Mena, Arkansas, which is where this occurred. And all of that drug smuggling and everything's been going on for a long time. Started with um, the CIA and Bush. Actually, it goes back to the Contra. But George Bush, HG, Herbert Walker, you know who I'm talking about, um, Senior, that he started in with the Contra affair in with Reagan, and they needed money on the QT, so they started this illegal importation of drugs into Mena, Arkansas, and it was a beautiful town back in the day. I haven't been there in the last 25 years, but back in the day, it was a nice little town just on the edge of the Oklahoma border, there in the Ouachita Mountains. And, nice little town, beautiful streams and creeks and fishing and tubing and kayaking. Oh my God, beautiful around there. But there's also a bunch of shenanigans going on around there. And at the time, there wasn't anybody around to get involved with the shenanigans. Very few people lived in that area. And because it was on the Arkansas Oklahoma border, it just seemed like the place to be able to do what they did. And they did. So, but anyway, that energy's now gone from this earth and the power and whatever it is behind it. And so that means now some of these things, Trump even said that, the reason he wasn't going to let out the rest of the JFK report was because it would affect certain people who were still alive, meaning George Sr., okay? And that would also mean that now that George Sr. has passed, it's very, very possible and highly likely, in my opinion, that Trump will go ahead and release those redacted CIA stuff that he said, well, not yet. Well, now that the Senior's out of the way, whatever comes afterwards will be afterwards. You know what I mean? Well, he won't be attacking a sitting, and you know what I'm saying? It is all politics, but at the same time, would also explain the reason why some of this stuff hasn't taken place yet. Maybe they reached an agreement with GWH Senior Bush thingy that at some point possibly they were giving him until last night to get off the planet. I know that's some really woo-woo stuff, but it's like, okay, because he could pick when. They said, yeah, but that's your deadline, bitch. Come December the 1st, all bets are off. So at the last minute on November the 30th, George Bush dies. Oh, really? I'm not saying he didn't die of natural causes, but could they have pushed? Could they? You know what I'm saying? It's just really strange the time they announced it, how long some of these little video clips are 3 minutes, 22 seconds, 322, skull and bones. Oh, yeah, that's right. How about that mess? So there's a lot of code out there about this already, that happened almost immediately. And it's like they had some of these documentaries already planned, if you catch my drift. How did they have all of a sudden all of this stock footage all blocked together and edited out, ready to go? Somebody knew something and goes, hey, get out the G.W. Bush documentary shit because we're going to need it. Because how do they come up with some of this stuff so fast? Well, he did this. Oh, yeah, you studied this, studied that. That all takes time. They didn't have time to research some of this stuff. It would have taken a day to compile some of these things. And some of this stuff I've already seen is like somebody knew he was already gone, or they said, hey, get ready. Something, they just don't, this stuff just doesn't happen as quickly as it did. I'm just saying, go out there and find stuff and make a 3-minute, 22-second long video of, Bush Sr. and have it ready, in an hour, please. I know there's some good folks out there and some folks have a lot of library stuff, but still they had this stuff done way too quick. People on third shift were like really working their butts off, or it was already prepared. Just saying. Now, what does that mean going forward? Could this be the signal for the rest of the tide? Don't know. There's more interesting news about whistleblowers and Clinton Foundation, and even Trump tweeting some stuff about the Clinton Foundation and about some other things. And I've been watching. Oh, I'm having a brain fart now. Um, he's been chasing the Clinton Foundation stuff for a long. Charles Ortel, and he's been on different stations. He's been on Lionel Nation and some other platforms, but Charles Ortel has the information, got the documentation, got them folks at the Clinton Foundation nailed dead to rights. They had to cancel the last I heard on one of them was that they were trying to sell tickets to some event, and they dropped, just to try to get people to come, they had dropped the tickets to a measly $6 a seat. I don't know how much they were, but nobody would buy them at $6 a piece. I wouldn't either, except to take pictures of them to say, well, this was the last event the Clintons ever held. Click, maybe. But to the point, though, there are a lot of big things going on under the wire here. Interesting about that senator dying after a flu shot. What does that say about flu shots? What does that say about the senator? What was that particular senator doing? Or was he doing anything? Was he taken out by the bad guys because he won? Just some strange stuff going on. Now, there's supposed to be even more. Now, with the migrants at the border, they got a new president elected. Elected, but he took his oath of office today. And so Mike Pence is supposed to be down there. I haven't seen the latest news, but he was supposed to be there as America's representative, and that this new president had already worked out a deal with Trump. So now that the Mexican president is now in charge, he can make rulings about what's going on in his country, where the lame duck president going out of Mexico was afraid to do anything because he was in a lame duck session. Now that the new president is in Mexico, we should very possibly see things change radically, okay? Because if this Mexican new guy is what he claims to be, and some of the stuff that's been said and heard, then he wants to clean up this mess. And if anything, he'll hire the United States to come across his own border. He will invite us, U.S., into northern Mexico to clean up some of the child trafficking sites and stuff that's hidden in up in the mountains up there in this one particular area. It's pretty much below New Mexico, but not, it's several hundred miles south, but there's a stronghold up there in the mountains that they've been discussing for a long time, both Mexicans and American and other forces. And it's also supposed to be where there are all these Russian or Chinese tanks or something like that now. But these guys have acquired some heavy artillery. And one of the things that the reason for the buildup on the border is because now that this new president is there, Trump moved folks down to the southern border. Between the new president and us wanting to defend our border, we can take care of this issue unilaterally. They signed a new agreement and threw out NAFTA. Now there's a Mexican agreement, and the U.S. thumbs up for that one. Trump saying, hey, if you don't stop, building, cars overseas and then bringing them over here and trying to sell them to Americans, why don't you fix them? I've been to Detroit. I worked in the auto industry, and I've been into some of these plants. And it's like they moved everything overseas because of cheap labor. They didn't want to pay $15 or $20 an hour, which in the auto industry is low wage. But to the point, though, it put a lot of people out of work, including me and a lot of friends and relatives and so forth. But to the point, though, it's like, oh, my God, if we just brought back that business that we lost, America would be great again just in that, because we would be we would be buying our own product. We built here, made here, and then sold here. Okay, let's sell some overseas. But now they're building them overseas and sending them to us, and and we're buying a Chinese car. Stop that mess. No. So Trump's got the right idea. He might not be going about it the right way, but there's a lot of politics involved. And so we need to give the guy a break in that respect. But he also announced here recently that there was going to be another steel plant open down in the Southwest somewhere. Well, when he was helping the state of Florida and did a MAGA rally down in Florida somewhere, I can't remember now, but he talked about that they were going to put in a steel plant in North Florida, up in the Panhandle North. That's right, near me. They're going to put in a steel plant here? Are you kidding? Oh, well, that might make sense as to why they just put in a pipeline here through Georgia that is a natural gas pipeline. So what would be the best way to heat a steel plant? Well, one of them would be coal's the best, but one of them would be would natural gas, and they just ran a natural gas pipeline through South Georgia. I mean, every time I go into Moultrie, I go over it. So it's like, yep, all right. Well, why do they drop? They're going to put something in North Florida. Well, that would be the reason for the pipeline then. I'm just saying. There you go with that. So I see changes, I mean, literally under my feet. What was the other thing? Oh, my angel messages have been very clear these last few days, especially during this very high energy Schumann resonance thing we just came out of. We are in an extreme lull right now in the Schumann resonance. I just checked it before I came online. Okay, it's almost been an hour. Oh my gosh. But we hit there was like almost no activity. So we went from a 24 to 36 hour period of getting hammered in the 50 mark to nothing. And that's where we're sitting at the moment. So it's going to be interesting how all of this plays out. I would say that if any of this were true about the indictments and so forth, staying in the politics side of things that there's going to be some interesting things come up. And before the inauguration in January, there's going to be some interesting things come up. Now, I don't have any specifics, only that there's going to be some really interesting things come up. And especially now that Bush Sr. has passed away, that it's almost like paving the way to say, okay, guys, we were trying to give this guy, whatever the political, rhetoric is. But now, does this mean that they can open up the floodgates? We'll see. Now, from a cosmic standpoint, these next 2 weeks are supposed to be fairly rough from what the information I'm getting. And until we make the turn, which will be around Christmas, it's going to be kind of rough. So these earthquakes we just had, beware. That energy is going to transfer itself across America. Mississippi, Oklahoma, places in there, the New Madrid, this could be one of the big ones. Because of all the energy that's been trapped on our west coast of the Americas. It's been bottled up through under America. And as things are wobbling, shaking, and twisting and it's rearranging itself. And I'm talking about more of how we're going around the sun right now, going into winter. That's more what I'm thinking of, not necessarily that the earth is wobbling. It looks really stable at the moment. For 2 weeks now, the earth wobble seems to be very stable. I think that's great. And so Spirit's telling me to tell you guys, don't listen to this bullshit. Oh, now the earth's in a wobble. We just came out of one. We just are stabilizing. Now they want to draw our attention to the wobble. This is backwards thinking somehow. And I'm wondering, I mentioned earlier on in this, I see people going back over stuff again. And it's like, but I thought you already talked about this. And it's okay that you go back over the information. We should all kind of update things every once in a while. But it's almost like they haven't learned anything in the last year or 9 months or whatever it was since the last time they went through this. So I'm just curious, are they going in a rerun pattern? Because other people seem to be having this deja vu. I've had it and like, wait a minute, I've been here, but I haven't, but I have, but I haven't. I don't. So it's just a curiosity. Is this another combination of the timelines being fixed? Or is somebody trying to disrupt them? Now, with the human resonance the way it's been, uh, it's very possible, if nothing else, the timelines could have been shaken, if you will. That's what they're telling me. Kind of like, a wire is okay, but it starts to overload, and the reason it gets hot is because it's vibrating so quickly. So it's like, okay, so in a certain way, there's been so much energy that some of the cords connecting all of us to this universe have been temporarily overloaded, if you will. It's almost like there's too much voltage for the size of a wire. You can't plug an electric heater into one of them little dollar store $2, at least you shouldn't plug them into those little extension cords. You're going to burn something out. And but people don't understand that in the grand scheme of things. But that's basically what's going on right now. We're not used to the extra juice that's coming at us right now, and each one of us has got to deal with it in our own little way. And I've been kind of complaining, and I'm like, you guys let me up. I've had enough downtime with this mess. But at the same time, it seems like there's a lot of information, a lot of other stuff going on, that all I can tell you is it's really kind of strange in here in a good way, but I can't explain it except, boy, howdy, some of these places I've been and seen, whew, if this is part of the if this is the lifting of the veil for me, and I know I've asked them, you gotta erase my memory before I get back here, because there's so many other things in my head right now. If I could literally see it all, I would be overwhelmed with it and not do my job here, which would be to try to help explain and get everybody in tune for these changes that are happening. And so, and I get it, and they're telling me, yeah, Dave, that's right. You agreed. And so, but they also agreed to let me start seeing more glimpses of where it is I've been working on, or whatever the hell is, it is. Right. Incoming message from the big giant head. They just said that. So just to throw a little bit of humor into the thing. So it's like, I have been sort of hanging out a little bit, but not normally like I do, in to see how folks are doing. But as I've checked in some of the chat rooms and things, it seems like people are doing pretty well with hanging on right now. And the biggest thing they're asking me to tell you all again is to hang in there. Don't get distracted with and get pulled into the negative energy. They still have they're going to still try to go out with as much of a bang as possible. And because I mean, just think it. It's Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. There they come out of the bar room, guns a blazing. What better way to go out than to be hung? Go out by a rope or whatever. So um, we need to keep our core values strong during this time, because there's going to be a lot of temptations on a lot of sides, and part of the temptation is going to be for us to stray out of our core selves. And love isn't just enough. One of the things, and it's very interesting, because you can go on, onto the YouTube site and see the videos I've done where I've talked about harmony. I've talked about loyalty. I've done a video on each one of these things. Now, other spiritualist folks on their channels are now starting to talk about honor, and especially honor and loyalty, in ways that it's like, that's interesting. Now, I'm glad you're bringing it up. But again, I say, I'm glad I'm getting the same kind of spirit messages, if you will. And when I listen to some of these folks, it's like, have they been watching my show? It's okay. And because the whole idea is to pass this on. It's not whether or not I'm it. That ain't it. Is the information correct? And so that's what I'm about. And so I have to look around and go, So, but other folks are almost. I swear, if I didn't know better, they had watched my video because they say the same thing, and it's like it's okay if you did. Glad you, but if you heard it, you should give reference. But nah, I'm kidding. I don't care, because it really isn't about that. But normally, if I hear something from somebody, I will try to mention their name if it's appropriate, especially if it's somebody information. Anyway, it's a copyright thing. As an artist, my brain gets twisted up sometime in that nonsense where it shouldn't go, if you will. So I didn't really have anything planned for this except to just kind of bring you up to date on some of the other nonsense. Or I just don't understand why they're trying to make the earth wobble when it looks like it's now become stable. Is the information just coming out and they fixed the moon and now the scientists, oh crap, we got to go ahead with the story because we already worked it up. And now that the moon's back where it's supposed to be, oh shit, we still got to release the story. That's kind of where my head is with this. Oh, you were going to tell folks about the wobble, and then ET fixed the moon. Oh, is that sly or what? Now it makes you people look like stupid fools. But just saying, I find it humorous. I really do. It's like chuckle, chuckle, hee hee. Okay, let's see what else you guys will come out with here with this soft disclosure. Because one of the things people are not really paying attention to, and so since David Wilcox and them kind of got busted for some of this stuff, and Gaia TV and all, and it's like, okay, don't want to go there, but some of this stuff is purely misinformation at times. Because I'll get some information and then I'll listen to David, and he's supposed to be like giving updated info. Yeah, he's got more resources, but if he's supposed to be checking in with the ET, my ET ain't with his ET. I don't know how else to say it, but these guys that I listen to are the same guys that this one, and this one listen to. They're all on the same page, but David Wilcox isn't any longer. He's been sidetracked, sideswiped, which I think is a shame. Now, does that mean that all information that comes from David is bad? I'm not even going to go there. Okay. I think he's done a good job in a lot of ways over the many years. And his insight to spirit and spirit things is very intriguing. And the law of one, which I forget most of what he said about it, but I do understand the law of one from my perspective, which is do no harm to any being, period. And so once you understand that concept, is that the law of one? And in my opinion, it is. So, but it doesn't necessarily correspond directly or indirectly with David Wilcox. So I'm not dropping his name but I've been watching him since the days of VHF and other things. So some people are like just catching up with him, and I'm like up to date. So a lot of the stuff that he brings out now to me is like not really that earth shattering. Interesting, but not earth shattering. It seems like there are these 4 or 5 other groups that I listen to, and the downloads that I've been getting. Actually, I think it's more of being tuned into the station, but I digress. It's just that, oh, wow, that really did come true. Oh, wow, that earthquake did happen. Oh, wow. So when I'm warning you about folks in along the New Madrid and the energy crossing the United States, please pay attention if you're anywhere in that area. The Pacific Plate along California and the West Coast, it's still going to get hammered. There's been twice as much energy on the other side of the ocean that hasn't reached us yet. So that means the magma underneath the planet is moving towards us. And if you will, it's like a tsunami of magma under the earth. And when it starts hitting over here with enough force, Mother Earth, we're going to feel it. Okay, that's the best way I can tell you. It's a magma tsunami under our feet, and it's just starting to hit us good. And because we just received Wow, this is an interesting thought. We just received that massive dose of cosmic energy in the Schumann resonance. That would have a tendency to thin out the magma because the vibration would be like heating up water in the microwave in a cup. Couple of seconds, it's warm, right? So, a day of this high energy frequencies, would that make the the magma more viscous and therefore travel easier? Could actually reduce the thickness of the wave, if you will, so that it wouldn't hit with quite as much dense force. That's an interesting projection right there. Thanks, guys. That's an interesting thought. So, and if the Earth just rang like a bell, and all of these other things just happened within these last few days this week, just be aware there's more of that to come. And for you all, get prepared as much as you can for whatever is coming. Now, with Trump down at the G20 meeting, there is a lot of whispers that they're going to, and Trump's been saying it in his tweets and in his reports, that the Fed is the worst enemy to the United States. And anybody who knows anything at all about the Federal Reserve, it's not federal, and there's no reserve. It's all poppycock. And that Trump's been trying to derail them, get rid of them. They uh, refused to this um, interest rate hike here just recently, the other day or so. So it's like, okay, they're playing politics with this stuff. But Trump wants to take it down. China and Russia have already made deals in broad daylight, but most Americans don't understand. They're all ready for this to happen. India's in on it. The Brexit. Okay, these guys are already in on this mess. They're already started this. The United States is like the last one to kind of sort of fall, but Europe's in there with the Euro crap thing. Um, no, Brexit is the Britain thing. Euro exchange. Is it BRICS? Anyway, it's Brazil, China, Russia, India, and somebody else. Anyway, whatever that spells. But to the point, though, it's like those folks have already got it. So now the underground sort of in the squeaks is that with this G20 summit and certain other things taking place right now, that they're going to bring the Fed to its knees. Wouldn't that be a Christmas present? I mean, to just like, hey guys, guess what? You guys, no, we decided we're going to do this the right way. We're going to go back to the regular economy. We're taking this stuff away from you guys, and all you've done is stole it from you and me and everybody else on this planet. And if nothing else, wipe out the debt and say, okay, starting from here on in, we've already got new dollar bills printed. It's been said that they're already out in banks and so forth. We'll see. But that to not freak people out instead of just crashing the economy, which is what the K-ball folks are trying to do. If you'll notice, the stock market's been for crap. They're trying to crash it before Christmas, so everything will go down the tube, so they can blame it all on Trump, and then do some kind of weird stuff in January to impeach him. That's this demented plan, and it's not going to go over as they planned because Daddy Bush is gone. The um, the power, if you will, that was like part of the glue. Because if you think of George Bush Jr., if you think of Junior Bush in charge of anything other than a paintbrush, oh boy, it's sort of like the madness of King George, if you will. And in a way, I pity the poor guy because Lord knows what that boy's been through. But with that said, though, there's going to a lot of changes. So we're going to hope for the best. We got to keep our spirits up. We have to continue to respect one another. That's the biggest message they're yanking on me with. Um, Let me come over here and see what's up. Pamela, stay woke. Uh, I missed somebody. Melanie, I got you earlier. Yeah. Ice Station Z, waiting on the Cascadia. Yep. That's one too. Hi, Rick and Delaney. Yes, yes. Stay woke. We saw you there, but not as an engineer. We will carry what we learned into our next reincarnation. So what was I, stay woke, if I wasn't an engineer? I was mechanic probably. I recall you from some time back. I thought it was in a rock shop out west. Um, Pamela asked, "What's my opinion on the views of the caravan?" Well, one of the things that's been interesting about that, and has been, and I've tried to stay a little update with this as I can. But how did they get from Guatemala to San Diego? How did they cross the mountains, get on the other side of the continent, and make it to San Diego? Just curious. Who funded the money? They damn sure didn't walk it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, well, somebody, but the thing is that, and I mentioned it earlier, today is when the new Mexican president is into office. And I think him and the Donald have had a conversation or two, and even the Don has, like, I know him personally. Our president has had discussions, and he's has related so that he's had discussion with the new president. And one reason why Pence was there was to, like, hey guys, we're going to fix this. And I think that there's so much that's been going on the Mexican border. It's not just immigration. And I think there's going to be some very odd things. Now, I was surprised the lady got impaled. Now, there was news stories today to where the mothers were saying that they were being pushed through the tear gas, that they were being pushed ahead of the crowd so that the soldiers wouldn't have a nasty reaction to the men behind it. Now, that's just being cowardly. Number one. Number two, who in their right mind is going to try to breach the border of the United States en masse? What are they trying to do? These folks are either suicidal, or 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 do they want to get in the country for asylum? No, I'm sorry. The folks that come across the desert and have their shoes cemented to their feet because of the heat of the desert, I feel for those folk, because they've been trying to get in the United States. They've worked here, they travel back and forth across the border, and it's like, if it weren't for the government red tape, they would have already been citizens, or at least have a green card. But with that said, though, this mess with the caravan has been connived. And oh, wait a minute. Now, the caravan that hit um, Tijuana may not be the same one that's still kind of getting through Mexico City, heading for Laredo, Texas, and that direction. Oh, wait a minute. There's another caravan. Hang on. So one was a distraction so they could bring other folks in, because they still ask the same question. How them folks in north of Guatemala, and look on Google Earth, how in the hell they get to San Diego, or, to Tijuana that fast? Well, they saw trucks, and yeah, oh, okay. So the Mexican president, the Tijuana mayor, they all are saying the same thing. Will you stop this shit? No, you people are camped. No, we didn't invite you. No, get out. We're having trouble with jobs as it is. And you people are see, because now these migrants, immigrant, whoever, whatever, the caravan, these folks, now they're going to shut off the border so that legally Americans who normally cross and go spend money down there can't now, and won't now, because these people are camped there. So there goes the economy of Tijuana and all of these other border cities. So the longer they allow this to happen, the worse it's going to get for the people who actually live there. And they're already pissed, and they're already showing off. So is it going to have to be us? I think the president of Mexico is going to go, Mr. Trump, you've already had troops there. I give you permission to bring your troops and help get rid of these folks. Tear gas, napalm. I say they should use energy weapons on them and just zap them one by one like a giant ray from outer space or something. I, I, Not really. Maybe some of them do deserve it, but not really. I was half-ass joking. But if they've got these big frequency devices, Why don't they put them up and point it at the Mexican border and crank them puppies up with that, them weird vibrations? Let them agitate them folks to where they get sick and vomit and want to go back home. Why would they want to cross a barricade? I mean, it's almost like the East Germans and the West Germans having a caravan thinking that they're going to get across the Berlin Wall. Are you people freaking stupid nuts? Or wait a minute, what kind of drugs are you on? Because you got to be on some kind of fantastical thing if you're think you're going to make this work. I mean, it's like, what? So the whole thing is a distraction to try to make everybody else look stupid. Now, to the point, though, Trump can use it to his benefit because there's a lot of cleaning up needs to get done along the border. So you could use it for both ways. The good thing is he can use it as an excuse to bring troops home, at least back to the United States for the holidays. Bring them home, Mr. Trump, you know? So it's like, Nizzy said she had some extremely interesting insight on the quakes and inner Earth, huh? Yeah. The Greeks renounced Soros. A lot of, I don't, only the cabal like Soros, and the Clintons, but to that point. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of interesting things come about here shortly, and we just need to remember. My prayer personally has just been that, like, hang on, you know, show me what I need to do with this new energy. Help me out with, because it's been knocking the crap out of me. I'm gonna flat out tell you, this last 10 days or so. I don't like to complain at all, but some of this has kicked my ass bad. I'm still here and everything's functioning. But as far as me getting my little chores done around the house, man. I mean, I'll feel fine and then walk to the kitchen. And by the time I get back, they're going, time's up, break time's over, and I'm out for 4, 5, 6 more hours, if not a whole day. So they've been, either I've been working overtime or something else is going on, but nothing in my life or world has changed to where this should have been so more more frequent. With the higher energies, I'd have thought I'd woke my ass up. But to the contrary, maybe they're taking me off planet. I don't know. I'll keep you updated on that one. Whatever it is, it's interesting as hell. I'm coming back with some really interesting 3D, almost 4D projections. That's an odd thing to try to admit, but I can see beyond what the 3D is. It's like, I don't know, another dimension. So, but it's been really interesting. So I continue to send my prayers and blessings to you all. Every time I come up for air, I go, all my YouTube friends, Pamela, Melanie, all y'all. I got a Rolodex in my head. Ice Station Z, um, Quartz Quantum. I don't know if you're still on, but hi there. And stay woke, you as well. And if I missed anybody, I'm sorry. But I just wanted to catch y'all today. And we got some extreme weather still going on down here in South Georgia. I mean, it's been raining really hard, really steady now for a couple of hours. And they gave us a flash flood warning. So far, I don't have water in my kitchen. It's not supposed to be there. But anyway, that's for another discussion. But boy, have we got a lot of water. And believe it or not, we went into a slight flood stage for about a day. And when I went to the store yesterday and came back, the water was not even running in the river again. And there are so many trees down across my river in the backyard. I seriously doubt I'll ever be able to kayak the thing again. It's just unbelievable how many trees are down. I mean, like every 30, 40 feet, there's a huge tree down. Another 50 feet, one's this way. And I mean, these trees are huge. And so I seriously doubt I'll ever get to kayak on my river again. But never say never. It's just, oh man, what a mess it is. So nice job. Get some rest. We're going to need it. Yeah, I got a lot of rest. They're just, it's almost like, okay, you got to go back to work wherever it is I'm going, and I can't prove it, but only to say that there's been some very interesting stuff in my dreams. I just never thought. I mean, I was just recently in a submarine. I mean, I was like, what? I mean, it was a submarine. And I've, seen movies. My brother was in the Navy. I've known people in the Navy, and I've been around submarines when they were docked at the harbor, and I've seen them in, out of dock and on display. I've never been in one personally myself, but the day before yesterday, I woke up and it was like I felt like I had to crawl up the hatch, unscrew it and climb out onto the conning tower there. And it's like, and I was like, what? And then I woke up and it was like, man, I hope I didn't pee on that guy. Cause usually when I get up to go to the bathroom, I got to go to the toilet to go pee. Right. And I was like, oh my God, I hadn't peed. But my first thought when I woke up was, I had to get up to go pee. And then I looked down this conning tower hatch and I'm thinking, oh my God, I hope I didn't pee on this guy. And then I was like, well, that was just stupid. Go to the bathroom. And then while I'm doing my business, I'm thinking, why would I think about me peeing on a sailor's head in a submarine? I mean, it's like, wait a minute. So I was just like, okay, time for a smoke, time for a bowl, time for a cup of coffee. Let this one sort out. It was humorous, but it wasn't. There was a lot of there were it was again, it was too real, and it all right. Never been in one, but man, I had my hand on knobs and things. So, but anyway, so hope you're dreaming some of this interesting stuff. They tell me I was in the Gulf of Mexico checking on the deep horizon. Wow, that's interesting. There you go. I hadn't asked, but they're telling me that's why I was there. Okay, so that's my updated information for now. Have a good Saturday evening. Oh, it's almost 10 o'clock. Well, 9:30. All right, guys. Be safe, be kind, be loved, continue to be compassionate. And I'll say prayer with you again. I hope and pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the healings, the blessing, and the knowledge from Creator. I pray that each one of you, your relatives, your neighbors, and all of your relations will also accept and receive these same blessings, understandings, and knowledge from the universe. So, with all of you all, I say blessings, stay sweet, stay kind, and I'll chat at you later. Yeah, I need more coffee refill. Talk to you later, y'all. Bye from South Georgia, where it's lots of thunderstorms and oddly unstable, if you will, in the atmosphere. So bye for now, y'all.